Hey students, this is lesson 311, percents and proportions. In this lesson, we are going to learn how to estimate percents in problems and how to solve percents using proportions. I'm going to skip to the second page here. We'll do the ones on the first page in class. But I'm just going to give you some strategies for estimating the answers to percent problems. Like this first one, we're at a lunch place. And so it says you and two friends split the bill equally. So we need to split it up into three parts. How much do we each owe? Now we have to add onto that a 5%, a 15% tip. That's pretty much normal. So in this case, we just need an estimate. So we can just think of the meal as 35 bucks. And then our tip. The strategy I'm going to teach you here for this is the 10% strategy. So finding 10% of a number is really easy. Remember, 10% means 10 out of 100 or 1/10. So we're just really dividing a number by 10. And when you divide any number by 10, it just moves a decimal over one place. So 10% of 35 is 3.5 or $3.50 for money here. Now, that's only 10%, and we need 15%, so we're going to add another 5% on that. Well, 5% is just half of 10%, so if we just take half of 350, which is $1.75, that should do it. Now, since we're just kind of rounding here and trying to figure out how much we need to spend, we can think of these two added together as about $5 or $6. So if we add that onto our $35 bill, then we get about $40. We need to split that into three parts. So we want a number that will split evenly by 3. And you can either go one less than that, 39 divides by 3, 13 times, or you could go 42 divided by 3 is 14. So one or the other there. So each person has to pay about $13 to $14. Okay. Next problem says that Sports Authority is having an amazing sale of winter gear, 55% off the regular price. You find a snowboarding jacket that you have been waiting for this past year. It was $240 before the sale. How much is it now? Well, 55% is really close to 50%. And I'm always thinking about what fractions these percents represent. It's 50 out of 100, which is a half. So we're going to have to pay a little less than a half for this snowboard. So half of 240, that's not too hard. We can just divide each of these numbers by half. Half of 2 is 1, half of 4 is 2, half of 0 is 0. So we're going to pay a little less than $120. So you might figure maybe about $115 for that. Okay. On the next one, you have a summer job working as a sales assistant at Macy's. You earn a 6% commission on every sale you make, in addition to your wage of $8.50 an hour. After a long 7-hour shift, your sales total $1,450. So that's the part you get paid the commission on. You get 6% of your sales. So we need to figure out what 6% of that is. Then we need to add that on to our hourly wage, which is $8.50 times 7. Let's quick approximate this. Let's just round it up to 9 so that we're not doing halves here. 9 times 7 is 63, but we round it up, so we're going to guess a little less than that. So about 60 for that part. And then our 6%, I'm going to use the 10% strategy here, and you'll see how that works. So 1,450 times 10%. Remember, 10% is 1/10, or divide that by 10. That just moves a decimal over one place. So that's 10%. 145 is 10%. I need 6%. 5% is pretty close to that. So, and remember, 5% would be just half of 10%. So I need to take about half of that. And maybe a little bit more than that. Half of 145 is about, let's just round that to 150. So half of that is about 75, and that's pretty accurate. We went up a little, and we actually need 6% instead of 5%. So let's just add 75 onto our wages, and we can do that. All right, 6 plus 7 is 13. And 5, that's about 135 bucks. Okay. Sometimes you have to estimate the percent for a ratio. I'll give you a couple strategies for that. Remember that a percent means out of 100. That's going to be important here. So if we want to get estimated as a percent, we always want to think about what would it be out of 100. So Maria answered 22 out of 25 questions correctly. That's out of 25, but we want to think about out of 100 instead. And notice 100 is 4 times bigger than 25. So I'm just going to multiply this by 4, and I can do that in my head. 2 times 4 is 8, 2 times 4 is 8, so about 88% is a good estimate there. This McCarthy science test had 20 problems. Each problem had the same value. Derek answered 19 of the problems correctly, so he got 19 out of 20. Now remember, we want to think about what would this be out of 100. And notice that if you don't know that what it is, how many times 20 goes into 100, just eliminate a 0 for a second and just think about how many times does 2 go into 10, and that's 5, right? So 20 goes into 100 at the same time, the same amount of time. So we need to take 19 5 times. Well, 20 times 5 was 100, so 19 times 5 is just 1 5 less than that, which would be 95 out of 100, or 95%. Okay? And the last one here says a survey of one high school senior class found that 96 out of 300 students surveyed had been involved in community service that month. What percent of the seniors had been involved? So we need a percent, again, thinking about out of 100. And hope you notice that this is 1/3 of that. So what we have to do is think of what's 1/3 of 96. Well, we can take 1/3 of 9. That's pretty easy. That's 3. And 1/3 of 6 is 2. So 32% would be the same as 96 out of 300. All right. There's some strategies you can use. We'll practice them some more in class the next time we meet.